Hello, I'm Hannah, and this is Hannah's Books. For this Tag Tuesday, I come to you with an oldie but goldie tag, as Sean and Britta now have me saying. Meet the Booktuber. I gather that it has been circulating for a few years, and in late 2019 it made the rounds again, showing up on some of my favorite channels. So here goes. The first prompt says, please give your name, age, and location. I'm Hannah. I'm 52, and I live inside the Beltway in the Washington, D.C. metro area, in the part of town on the lefty side politically, that is, on the right or east side of my county in Tacoma Park, for those of you who know the politics and culture of various neighborhoods and towns. Next, do you have any siblings? And if so, where do you come in the sibling order? I was an only child for more than 7 years and have many personality traits associated with only children, since I was an only until after I entered school. After much begging on my part, my parents agreed to provide me with a sibling. I asked for a little sister. I got a little brother, who, despite his initially disappointing gender, grew up to become an interesting thinker who reads widely and loves to share fascinating glimpses into worlds that don't always appear in my own reading. Question 3. What do you do for work or uni? I have a PhD in history, and years ago I used to write books and articles for academic presses and journals. I was also a professor at Gallaudet University, an American college designed for deaf students. At some point I'll talk more about how I ended up there. After the birth of my son, completely to my surprise, I chose to stay home with him. And again, completely to my surprise, we eventually chose to homeschool for a year, and then 2 years, and so on, until my son had homeschooled all the way through. Now he's a junior in college, in a real college, not at home this time, and I'm returning to the teaching world. Although this time I'm teaching younger students, middle grade and high school students primarily, and I teach them online. The fourth question. Do you have kids? Yes, as I've said, I have a college-age son whose books fight with mine for room on our family bookshelves. Perhaps I can convince him to be a guest on this channel the next time he's home for a school break. I talk about him quite often in my videos, so I'll keep it short here. Question 5. Do you have any pets? I've never had a pet, or at least not really. When he was little, my brother won a goldfish at a Halloween fair. He named the little goldfish Sushi. Not surprisingly, it didn't live for more than about 24 hours. I've always loved visiting my friends' dogs and cats, and I pet sat for a few friends while they were away on vacation. But until the last year or so, I've never thought I would want a pet. My thinking is possibly starting to shift. I'll keep you updated. The next question. Can you drive? Count me as one of the booktubers who doesn't drive. I live in an urban area with easy access to public transportation and within an easy walk of several grocery stores, lots of restaurants, and 3 different public libraries in 3 different systems, as well as a community college library. But my initial reason for not driving was not my urban setting. It was surgery for a non-cancerous brain tumor more than 25 years ago. The surgery left me deaf in one ear, with somewhat limited peripheral vision on that side, and with a severed vestibular nerve that makes me have less physical awareness of the world around me than might be necessary for a safe driver in an area as urban as mine. I've kept my driver's license up to date, and I suppose I might choose to drive again in the future, but for right now I'm pretty happy being a pedestrian, and a person who gets chauffeured around when I need to go somewhere in a car, thanks to my local friends. Number 7. What is or was your favorite subject at school? In high school, I loved biology most of all. At home, I vastly preferred reading fiction to studying science, but at school, I couldn't stand the way literature was taught in most of my high school classes, and I hated history there even more. When I got to college, my advisor asked me what field I hated most. With no hesitation, I told her history. She suggested that I get my history distribution class out of the way my first year and put it behind me. Well, I totally loved the class I took, and I decided to major in history, and then I went on to grad school and then became a history professor myself. I really should have known better. My father was an historian, and I always loved hearing him talk with his friends and his students about what he loved. Somehow, I thought that the social and cultural questions with which he was absorbed were not really history. They certainly weren't what we learned about in high school history classes. But of course, the kinds of questions he asked were exactly the kinds of thoughtful analyses that filled my college history classes. I'm so grateful to my freshman advisor, whose advice was so useful to me, just not in the way she intended. The next question. What is your favorite color? Gray. I inherited this favorite color from my father, although I distinctly remember insisting back then, when I was in preschool, that he couldn't choose gray since it wasn't a real color. I learned better. Question 9. What is your favorite smell? I love the smell of aging leather books and disintegrating pages, a smell which you find in rare book rooms and manuscript libraries. I don't know if my love for that scent started because I spent so many happy hours doing historical research in rooms with that smell, or if I fell in love with historical research because of the beauty of that smell. Sadly, one of my few allergies is to the kind of mold that develops on old paper. Only antihistamines make archival work possible at this point. And the last question. What is your favorite book or top 3? I've mentioned my love of Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre many, many times on this channel, and it will always be at the top of the list, I suspect. The play Antigone by Sophocles made a similar kind of impact on me back then. Jane Austen's Emma is another favorite of mine, and it's a book I've read almost as many times as Jane Eyre, and one I'm not sure I've mentioned here yet. I'm hoping that Jane Austen July will be happening again this year on BookTube, in which case I'm sure you'll hear me gush about some of my other Austen favorites. And one more book I've been totally obsessed with for many years, Flannery O'Connor's collected short stories. I'm hoping to join Brian at Bookish for a few of his short story reads this year, and I'm especially excited for the time when he reaches O'Connor. All of these favorite books are works that have lived with me since I was young, and no matter how much I love the novels and nonfiction I read now as an adult, those books never quite seem to find their way into that deep place in my heart where you'll find the books that shaped me when I was young. This tag has been making the rounds for so long that I assume any of you who might be interested have already done it, so I'm not going to tag anyone by name. Of course, if you haven't and you're interested, you are now officially tagged. Thanks for joining me today. See you soon on Hannah's Books.